The first race of the season left little doubt that John Force is the favorite to win another NHRA Funny Car Championship. But one of his toughest challenges comes from an unlikely source. After 2 quiet seasons in the pro ranks, Alexis DeJoria has come out screaming in 2014. At Pomona, she became the first female in funny car history to break into the 3-second range. And at Phoenix, she not only put Force on the trailer, but followed that up with her first career funny car win. With that elusive Wally under her belt, Alexis DeJoria has finally arrived. Alexis and the rest of the best from the NHRA Mellow Yellow Series have arrived today in Gainesville, Florida, and they've had to do it early. Why? Massive crowds make parking tough here at Auto Clutch Raceway. Why are these rabid fans here? Just this little historic race, the 45th AMALIE Motor Oil Gatornationals. I love it when they do that. And why are they here at Alexis DeJoria's pit? Well, it was just 3 weeks ago that she won. The pit, the people that put it all together, Mike, there was no luck involved in that. Alexis and this team, led by Tommy DeLago, earned it.
Absolutely. It was a great win for the team. They came out in Pomona, went to 399, but did not have that race car that could win, didn't have the consistency. Well, they found it in Phoenix, making 4 great runs on Sunday to get in that winner's circle on that magical day. But then they came here to Gainesville, and they struggled in qualifying a little bit. Number 14 qualifier, first time they haven't qualified in the top half of the field today, but I talked with Tommy DeLago. Alexis, they're confident that they got this thing figured out, bugs are worked out, and they're going to get another race win this afternoon.
Well, looking to get his first win of the year, the top fuel champion, Sean Langan, who does have the 2 quickest passes this weekend. He is, of course, the #1 qualifier as Alan Nobby gets set to come to the starting line against J.R. Todd. And then there's Richie Crampton, the Australian, in only his 3rd race. And who does he have to race? How about the boss, Morgan Lucas? Well, we got a lot of play out of Clay Milliken yesterday, and the little incident that happened here, Mike, in Ultra Mode's incredible.
It was on the burnout. They had an oil filter problem. Basically blew all the oil right out of that thing on the burnout, and look at all that gooey mess all over the racetrack.
Here is the Lucas Oil Ladders. We get set to roar to life. 10,000 horsepower race cars. Langdon, the #1 qualifier for the 14th time. Same number as Mike Dunn. And how about Doug Coletta and Brittany Force? Brittany got her first ever round win against the former USAC Sprint Car champ.
Other side of the ladder, I'm focusing on that matchup between Richie Crampton and Morgan Lucas, his boss. Not much history there. It's only the 3rd race for Richie. So obviously this is going to be something to try to take out the boss.
Well, short and to the point, here comes round #1, which features Tony Schumacher making his 250th consecutive race. The most in top fuel history, set to take on Leah Pritchett. It's also our upset alert. You think the lower qualified Leah has a shot.
A consistent car in qualifying in Phoenix, looked good in qualifying here in Gainesville.
And the Sarge has struggled. Side by side, but look at the U.S. Army car march away. Tony Schumacher's going to round #2 with a 382. That'll bring us to the point leader, Doug Coletta.
Doug Coletta against Brittany Force. Both of these drivers in my power rankings. So one of them's going to go home early. It's Brittany. Doug Coletta lays down a nice pass. 379.5 takes out Brittany's 382 elapsed time.
Morgan Lucas is back for the first time in a limited role this year. He will be taking on the guy replacing him in the seat, Richie Crampton. His 3rd race ever after working 7 years on the bottom end of the Geico dragster. Richie Crampton is this week's E3 Sparkplugs hotshot.
I'm Richie Crampton. I live in Brownsburg, Indiana. I was born and raised in Adelaide, Australia. I now drive the Geico Lucas Oil Top Fuel Dragster. First round at Pomona, there was a lot going through my mind. It was kind of it felt like a make or break. Growing up in Australia, you know, I spent a lot of time with my dad at his auto repair business and really developed a passion for drag racing and working on cars and hot rods with him. He got me a go-kart when I was young and taught me how to work on it and maintain it, and my drag racing career kind of spawned from that. Some of the music I like to listen to is like Social Distortion, Pennywise, maybe some Bad Religion. Driving a top fuel dragster is something I've always wanted to do from as long as I can remember. So I never knew that I'd ever get the opportunity to even get close to doing it. So this is basically a dream come true.
Not only do you have that opportunity, Richie, you have to race the man who put you in the seat. Morgan doing it for the first time, though, Mike Dunn, as a father. You remember that, what that was like when Samantha came along? Oh, red light!
Richie, come on! The boss gets the win. Yeah, I remember my first race. I think it was 83 finals where it blew the crank out of it. Luckily, Samantha wasn't old enough to know what was going on, but she can watch on YouTube now.
Well, here comes Sean Langdon, the champion, up against J.R. Todd. That's the second Bob Vandergriff car. J.R., a former Rookie of the Year.
Oh, the #1 qualifier upset J.R. Todd right down the track. Nice run, too. A 380 a lap time at 325 miles per hour. Career best speed. Nice job.
Well, obviously, it's a very steep learning curve when you jump in your rookie season into one of these top fuel monsters. And Richie Crampton just experienced, unfortunately, for the first time in his young career, a red light. What do you learn from situations like this?
Well, I'm going to learn a lot, man. I really hate to let Geico and Toyota down like that, and more importantly, my guys. And, you know, they work so hard on this race car, and make a rookie error like that against my boss, of all things, is really embarrassing for me right now. So I'll try and go apologize to my guys, and, you know, we'll gather up our stuff and head on to the next one. But definitely not how we planned on racing today.
See you in Las Vegas.
Thank you.
Antron Brown turned 38 on March the 1st. Made his NHRA debut here in 1998. Rode a motorcycle with Troy Vincent, the Phoenix winner, taking on Sidney Frigo. New car blues for him. Nothing but blue skies from Antron, 383.
Next up, it's David Grubnick in the left lane. Clay Milken in the right. Did his burnout with no oil coming out of it. That's a good thing. Smoking the tires, that's a bad thing. David Grubnick gets a win even with the cylinder out. A 393 a lap time to advance. Grubby.
Bob Vandergriff, his 300th race. His first ever win back in Dallas 2011 was over Spencer Massey. Spencer's going to have none of that today. Spencer goes 387.6 in the Don Schumacher Racing Top Fueler.
Then the final pair, Steve Torrance up against Khaled Belushi on the right side, your Winter Nationals winner. A good side-by-side race, but how about Steve Torrance? Low ET of the round at 379.0 at 325 miles per hour to advance to the second round.
Hammer, the Lucas Oil ladder for round number 2 shows a couple young up-and-comers. J.R. Todd out of the number 16 qualified spot. Then it's the veterans, the teammates, Collette and Grubnick. But it all begins with two guys that have wins in both top fuel and top alcohol dragster. That is Morgan Lucas, first time back as a part-time racer, learning the family business, set to take on Spencer Massey.
Two very good drivers here. Spencer Massey's always very consistent on the lights. Morgan Lucas, he's been out of the car for a little bit, but he's one of those natural drivers. He just gets right back in. I'm sure it's just like riding a bike for him. He'll be just fine, but he's going to try to get around Spencer.
Well, how about this? Morgan Lucas's first top fuel win in Atlanta 2009 came over Spencer Massey. And now for his father, inducted into Big's Drag Racing Hall of Fame a few nights ago. Morgan is in the semifinals here in Gainesville.
Well, Spencer Massey had a pretty good advantage off of the starting line, more than 3/100ths of a second, but he had problems down track. And take a look at Morgan Lucas. He was able to make up that difference in about past 50 foot, and then just pretty much pull away and get the win.
Well, big-time speed right there out of both of those cars. Well, we've had big-time speed also in Pro Stock this weekend, Jamie.
With 6 event wins, Erica Ender-Stevens is the most successful woman in Pro Stock history. But that's not enough for her. She wants to be the most successful driver. And this weekend, she did become the fastest driver in Pro Stock history with a speed of 214.69 miles an hour. Now, you don't get any bonus points for a speed record. But for Erica, she says the biggest thing is that she did it consistently. They made 4 solid passes down the racetrack. She is the number 2 qualifier, and she will face Robert Patrick in round 1.
Well, the teammates, Antron Brown and Tony Schumacher, will be the next pair. Following them will be the teammates, Coletta Grubnick, and then a couple of the young guns, Steve Torrance and J.R. Todd. Then it's going to be Funny Car, which today features our marquee matchup. John Force has never lost in the first round, starting from the number 16 qualifying position, and he's only done it 4 times. And then there's that man, Cruz Pedregon, whose only Gainesville win came back in 1998 over John Force. Funny Car's next.
AMALIE Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals is brought to you by Mellow Yellow. Go on yellow. And AMALIE Motor Oil, better than it has to be since 1903.
Kenny Bernstein, March 20th, 1992, right here at Auto Plus Raceway, took that car to more than 300 miles per hour. It was a historic moment here at the AMALIE Oil Gatornationals, where earlier this week we got an opportunity to meet with Big Daddy Don Garlitz at his museum, where Kenny Bernstein's car sits, to talk about some of his legendary equipment.
This is Swamp Rat 1. This is the car that broke into the limelight for me. I was nobody till I ran this car. It beat Cook and Bedwell first. That's the car up there in the black and white picture. They were the world champion, 168 miles an hour. This car went 176. It was all about fuel delivery. I discovered that you had to have lots of volume of fuel. I had a full body on this car, including an underpan, so that nobody could see the fuel system underneath that was able to deliver the fuel, nitromethane fuel, that was necessary to go that fast. The big lines that big around, all hidden. And it was so fast that people didn't believe it. And actually that was to my advantage, because the drag strips called me up. They wanted me, well, if you are so good and you can go 170, how about coming to my place? I said, well, give me $450 and I'll do it. So I went all over the United States, going over 170 at different tracks, and it started my career as a professional drag racer.
And that career was the benchmark for many a professional racer, including Tony Schumacher, who debuted in 1996 and today makes his 250th consecutive start. That's the most in NHRA history in top fuel. You see the other class leaders. Antron Brown's in the opposite lane.
Oh, up in smoke for Schumacher. Look at Antron.
Wow, the last time Tony Schumacher went past the second round, St. Louis last fall, and that streak's going to continue as Brown goes 381. That's giving yourself a birthday gift. 38, March the 1st.
You see, Schumacher was right there initially, and then just trying to get out of that shake zone. A little too aggressive on the power, probably, and then just smoked the tires.
Today's Harley-Davidson marquee matchup features a rivalry for the ages. It's #1 Cruz Pedregon going up against #16 John Force in the first round. It's the 91st time that these two have faced off head-to-head. Now, I'm not going to say these guys hate each other, but they're not the best of friends. However, they do respect each other, and neither is afraid to let it all hang out. Force holds the edge against Cruz with a 61-29 record, but you can throw out the stats on this one. Force versus Pedregon at the Gatornationals. It doesn't get much better than that.
Certainly agree there, John. Well, from Gainesville, we head next to the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where last year Alan Johnson doubled up, winning the race as well as the K&N Challenge. That's the specialty race for Pro Stock, which you can see Saturday, March the 29th, when qualifying comes your way on ESPN2 at 8 p.m. 11 p.m. on Sunday, March the 30th, ESPN2. That's our finals from Las Vegas in the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series. The SummitRacing.com NHRA National. Teammates Dave Grubnick, Doug Coletta. Give it to the Mac Tools crew. They both sponsor Mac Tools, though. They do.
On a whole shot. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, wow. David, 099, gave it up. He had the quicker elapsed time. Jimo's driver, Doug, left the starting line first.
One of the best in the business, and he needed it that time. He's kind of been a little bit up and down, but he hit the tree on that one. As you take another look at him, making that transition out for at the 8th mile mark. That's where a lot of times the tire gets upset. They start getting loose, but the track conditions are very good. Take a look at David Grubnick coming into your shot. He was fighting that thing, trying to keep it off of the center line. Even though he ran quicker, though, he still came up short.
The point leader, Doug, keeps adding to his total. A couple of Gainesville wins. Is he on his way to his third? Well, the Capco car, that is Steve Torrance. He works for the family business down in Texas, loves his hunting. He'll be taking on J.R. Todd, who loves all things racing. Out of Indiana, he loves the sprint cars, drag racing, it doesn't matter. J.R. Todd loves it. He can drive it, including Pro Mod.
And I love this matchup. J.R. Todd made that really nice pass in the first round. 380 elapsed time, defeating the #1 qualifier, Sean Langdon. But how about his competition? Steve Torrance, low ET of the round, a 379. That gives him lane choice, but lane choice doesn't matter. Both lanes look very good right now.
Well, Steve Torrance is racing for a family who's from around the Central Florida area this weekend. Darren Hosfeld Jr., a young man with cystic fibrosis, packed the chutes for him this afternoon. You're looking at his brother, Scott Hosfeld, an 8-year-old who passed away the day before the Super Bowl earlier this year of cystic fibrosis. Steve met them at the rope signing autographs last year, became good friends, was hoping to have the whole family here this weekend. Of course, with the passing of Scott, they're saddened, but the family is here, and Steve says he's racing for them.
Our thoughts and prayers to them. Common denominator between the two, both drove for Dexter Tuttle. Capco all the way. 385.6, and Steve Torrence and his crew chief Richard Hogan guided him to 3 of his 4 wins. Back with him. The band's back together, I guess you might say.
Yeah, that's a shame for J.R. Todd. I thought, you know, he was going to give him a race. Obviously, he just hit the throttle, spun the tires right away. They'll have to go look back at it. Maybe hit the wheelie bar a little bit too hard, unloaded. No matter what, though, it's Steve Torrence has a good race car right now.
Texas and Michigan represent one half of the Top Fuel semifinals as Steve Torrance's 385 gives up lane choice to Doug. A bit of a surprise there. 382.9, good enough for lane choice for Dougie. That's one half.
The other half, Antron Brown and Morgan Lucas. How about that Morgan Lucas in the semifinals? Takes the whole winter off and comes in a couple races. He's going to go up against Antron Brown. Antron's going to have the lane choice. Not that it matters.
So as Torrance takes off the hardware, we get set next for Funny Car with Tim Wilkerson and Courtney Force represent our first pair. Back in the staging lanes. Wow, take a look at what John Force found, or what found John Force. A little family photo there. Anytime you can get with John. Coming up next, it's going to be Funny Car, where it's amazing what your first national event win will do to you. Put a little pep in your step.
Oh, look at that.
And she's going to do it.
Wow.
Alexis DeJoria
Nice run, too.
is the 4th female race winner in Funny Car history.
The car doesn't care if the driver is male or female. That's the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series.